Salutations, Shades, and welcome back to your one-stop shop for all things strange and unusual, talking with shadows. The conversation everyone has, but no one wants to admit to. Here with your host, Vic Waitley.
And Marcus D. still here before I've gone on vacation. Me and Vic we're talking after our last episode, and we realized like so much in that episode. We got huge stuck up on like one particular aspect of the Skinwalker Ranch story, like when it came to the institute that Bigelow founded, that he was, to get the scientists out there. And we were like, there's so much we didn't talk about in this. So we decided to do a part 2.
But this is not episode 100.
No.
You may be mistakenly thinking this counts as our episode 100. This is 99.5.
We're almost there. Like, I'm recording this the day before that I go out on vacation, so wanted to give you guys a little bit more of some more content before I check out for the week.
And this isn't going to follow like our more normal pattern, with a patron segment stuff. This is just, a little bit of bonus fun for everybody here.
Because we're recording this at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, and you got to leave like shortly after this.
I do. I got to accept an award that I got. An award I got at work.
The butt kissies.
No, it wasn't a butt kissies. Hey, I received a Community Partner of the Year award for the city of Evansville. Thank you very much.
Actually, let's see if I can find it. There you go.
That is the sound of me patting myself on the back. But I gotta go to that after this. But it's a lot of fun. I wanted to give you guys something in the meantime while I'm on vacation. So me and Vic decided to come back to the studio and keep talking for a little bit more.
Do you get to give a speech?
I don't know.
If you do, just go.
They didn't tell me.
Just go, I win, and mic drop and leave.
No, it's going to be like, for my computing part of the year, I'd like to thank everybody. My whole next year is going to be an anti-poverty initiative where we're going to get rid of the poor people. That's my new No, I'm just kidding. I'm not really. I got a certificate and I got a plaque. No. Both me and Vic. Most people don't know this. We've done a lot of social work, and we've done a lot of work for the community. That's like a lot of our background. So
I love working in the community.
Yeah, and so it's a big passion of ours. So, fun fact though. So I had made a LinkedIn years ago LinkedIn for my stand up and for stuff for like the YouTube channel, like One Candle Society, and then I forgot about it. And then all of a sudden, my new people that I've been working with the community started adding me on LinkedIn, and I didn't realize it. They were like, "Marcus, what's this One Candle Society?" And I'm like, "Oh crap!"
No, you go. Don't worry about One Candle Society.
Yeah, I can't talk about One Candle Society. You didn't see anything. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That's what it was.
You didn't see anything. You didn't hear anything. You don't remember anything. Forget that word immediately. It's for your best interest.
But then it was funny, afterwards, because it was so many of them were really cool with it. That was still the funny. Like when we first started this, we were so worried about how people were going to take us having a paranormal YouTube channel. And
nowadays we don't care.
Yeah, nowadays we just don't. We don't even care. We just tell everybody. So.
Yeah, when someone asks me what I do on there, I'm like, just normal stuff. UFOs, lizard men, it's super normal things.
Accusing the government.
It's Sasquatch, so a wizard. Normal things.
Accusing the government of building machines to control the weather.
Yeah.
Eating secretly in the woods before a giant 40-foot owl.
Yeah,
weird stuff. The normal stuff.
Yeah, whenever someone asks me what my podcast's about, I'm like, just imagine anything weird, and that's probably what we're talking about.
I was telling him, I'm like, Pete, you are not ready for what we talk about on our podcast. Like we talk about some of the weird of the weird. So.
Do you know what people ask me when I tell them? Just imagine something weird, and that's probably what we're talking about. They usually go, "You mean like sex stuff?" And I go, you'll have to tune in to find out.
Right. You know, no, I always get stuff like, they're like, oh, you do stuff like Zach Baggins. And I'm like, no, not like Zach Baggins.
Oh, I freaking hate Zach Baggins.
That charlatan snake in the grass.
Worst hobbit ever.
15 years searching for ghosts. Can't find one ghost. Can't find one single ghost.
Oh, okay. Let's get into some of the discussions.
Sorry, I got passionate about my opinions on Zach.
Let's skip the comment section.
This is going to be an overall arching thing. But what I am going to say for people, again, our next episode's our 100th episode. In the comments below, put your questions for us. We're going to be answering your guys' questions on not only on Skinwalker Ranch, but like stuff on the channel about me and Vic. Anything that you guys want us to address on the podcast.
You need to be like, why is Vic so cool and Marcus not? Why is that a thing?
Marcus, what makes you so much more sexier than Vic? Like, what?
That is just a bold-faced lie.
How do you get so much smarter than him? Do you have any brain exercises that you do? Yeah. We'll answer all those questions below.
Okay.
All right. So this is what I want, and I bet you that this, yeah. So one of the things that I started researching about Skinwalker Ranch that not a lot of people know about, and I want to get your opinion on this, Vic. Did you see the thing about the black boxes, the ominous black boxes?
Oh, actually, I think I vaguely remember something about this, but I don't remember the details.
Okay, so there's many different accounts all over, like, when it comes to Skinwalker Ranch. You can get stuff on UFOs, you can get stuff on Bigfoot, cryptids, like other weird spatial anomalies and stuff like that. But one of the things that I was stumbling upon last night whenever I was prepping for this episode, and then threw my whole notes out the window for what we were going to talk about, was the ominous black boxes. Now, this is a particular phenomenon that's actually pretty tied in with the UFO community, and it's pretty like in some particular instances with abductees or people that see UFOs or contactees, people who interact with aliens. There's been instances where people have reported seeing these strange black boxes. Okay.
Like, are they like just sitting there on the ground?
Yeah. Sometimes they're sitting on the ground. Sometimes they fly. Sometimes aliens are holding them in stories.
Like in the stories where like the alien pulls out a black box and like controls a Bigfoot with it, and then asks the Bigfoot to pick it up, and then the Bigfoot gets shot.
Yeah, and he dies. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
There are reports of these being sighted on Skinwalker Ranch, like in the particular areas. People are seeing these, and they try to approach them, and it starts making this really strange humming noise.
Okay, no, I'm with you now.
Or the sound. Do you know the sound that it's supposed to make? Like the incident that you're talking about where it supposedly killed the Bigfoot? That particular story comes from the 70s. I want to say it was a guy named Charles Mooney. I want to say was the gentleman's name. Where that particular story comes from.
I think I've heard people throw around the term ultra low frequency.
Yeah. That particular story that I think that comes from Charles Mooney. Charles Moody. I got that right. And so it makes this strange like beehive sound, like a bunch of swarming bees.
Kind of like what people sometimes describe when a shadow person is manifesting.
Yes, and they're manifesting. And a lot of people that particular ghost hunt, like ghost researchers, talk a lot about that. That's somehow manipulating, I don't know, the fabric of what lets them go in and out of our reality, or in or out of being able to see us, or essentially manipulating physics in some sort of way that it's changing that. And so I thought that was really particularly interesting that people have reported seeing those black boxes all around Skinwalker Ranch. Now, remember when we were talking about in the last episode, and we were talking about Bigelow? We were talking about Bigelow and his National Institute for
Discovery Science.
And I was giving you a very hard time.
I think they're cool.
I was giving you a very hard time. You're like, there's no reason to think that, think they didn't do anything. And I'm like, rich mogul guy, bringing just a bunch of these guys out for whatever reason. And I thought they were hokey. Okay. Do you know Bigelow's background?
Real estate tycoon, Las Vegas?
Not just that. In 1999, Bigelow founded Bigelow Aerospace. He is in propulsion.
Yeah.
He is, yes. He is actually in aerospace and propulsion in some of that higher tech. So what I'm wondering is whether or not if what they were working on at Skinwalker Ranch, because again, they didn't have anything except anecdotal data that they came out to the public.
Yeah.
Now, this is my point. Rich people don't do things unless they think that they're going to be making money. Like in my mind, I'm like, there's absolutely no way that Bigelow bought or Fugal, the new guy, would buy Skinwalker Ranch if they didn't think in some way, shape, or form they can get money. You know, paranormal tourism is a huge thing. People do that all the time. You know, Post Malone's been on Skinwalker Ranch, and all that. There's rich people that have done that. So I'm like, but why would these guys go through the process of buying Skinwalker Ranch if they didn't think that there was something that they could be doing? So my curiosity is whether or not if what they were actually working on were these black boxes.
Huh. Now that is fascinating. There's also a certain point in time where the NIDS team went media blackout.
Right.
And not a lot is known about what happened during that blackout time, because initially they were fairly open with what was going on there.
Right.
And then they just went into that black hole where they're like, the rule is no one comes in, no one comes out but us. Word of what exactly our projects are right now do not go out. And one of the things they'll say is one of the reasons we did this is to make sure people aren't, coming in and hoaxing things or messing with our research and stuff like that. But would also be a good guys for if the project's goal changed somewhat. I'm not saying that's definitely what happened. I'm just saying you presented me with an interesting theory, and I'm giving you a spot on the timeline where they probably could have done it.
Well, that's something that, like, in the new documentary series that I think it's the History Channel put out, like, The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, that they put out. And that's one of the things they were talking about was that Robert Bigelow supposedly, like, whenever he was owning it, they had the government was funding some of this research in order to investigate UFOs. Like, they had some sort of government funding. But that's my curious thing. Like, if we look at, like, the history of ufology and the history of, like, some of the alien tech, like, if you think, like, Bob Lazar. Like, Bob Lazar comes forward, I want to say in the 80s, I wasn't right with that when I was thinking. Like, he comes forward in the 80s, and what he said was the government had approached him and said, hey, we have this tech. We need you to recreate it. And that was what he was tasked with, was that they were trying to recreate alien propulsion technology. Okay? So you have these ominous black boxes that people have been reported seeing since the 70s. I think Charles Moody was probably the first one, I want to say in 1970, that he comes forward saying that was the first one talking about these boxes, and then there's been a few other accounts of people seeing these weird, ominous black boxes that aliens use either to control Bigfoot, or they're flying around, or they're doing other weird stuff. So what I'm wondering is if Skinwalker Ranch was being utilized for these black boxes for some particular purpose.
Let me throw out a building theory on that, though.
Sure.
Okay, so they're testing out these black boxes.
Right.
They've been testing it out on the families in that area for years. Maybe that area is just more effective for it or something. But no, they've gotten enough data on how regular people respond to it. So now they want to know, how would a scientist respond to this information? Could we keep a scientist from recognizing what's going on? So they work through Bigelow, who has connections through aerospace, to be like, hey, here's the funding for it. We just need a reason to have a team of scientists in the area. You can use this guise of just exploring the unexplained. But ultimately, they just want to see what a team of scientists would be able to uncover about their technology. Could the scientists figure it out, or could they not?
Could they use this to apply this to skinwalkers? Similar to, like, what they use it for Bigfoot.
Oh, that's not where I was going, but like that's an interesting idea,
right? Yeah.
But my thought was like the scientists are actually the guinea pigs. They're the test subjects.
They were test subjects. They were working on them.
Well, the thing is, like, think about it like this: if you're using like a experimental technology, something that might be useful is how well can a team of trained scientists understand what they're seeing,
right?
Because that also determines how well could an enemy recreate this technology.
Right.
So I can see that, but also, like, could this work on Skinwalkers as well as Bigfoot is also a really fascinating one.
But we've talked about this multiple times in the channel. Like, I don't think they were using on the scientists. I think you could make it's more likely they were trying to use the scientists to make something. That sounds just to me that feels more practical. But I'm not saying I can prove you wrong on that. But if you look at, say, Bigfoot accounts and Skinwalker accounts, there's a lot of overlapping stories.
Wait, I just want to make sure I understand your theory here.
Yeah.
Your thought is that, like, Greys or some other force is moving through this area using these boxes to control Bigfoot, which are commonly sighted within that area.
Right.
and the scientific team is trying to examine and understand their technology to recreate it or expand it to control skinwalkers or something along those lines.
Or they could be working together. I mean, it could either be a situation in which humans and aliens are working together. It could be a situation in which humans are working by themselves. You know, they're working by themselves for the technology. However you want to go about it. But
okay, I just wanted to make sure I was following your theory. Go ahead.
Right. But I think that could be what's going on. Because if you think about like some of the stuff that we have talked about with skinwalkers and Bigfoot, a lot of the stories overlap. You know, both have incidences where hunters report shooting them and they're impervious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or there's instances in which people will be following them and see them and then they'll just vanish.
Yeah.
Right. They're both giant cryptids that are out there in the woods that we can't seem to find. Like it seems like more likely than not, there's got to be some similarity anywhere. There's got to be some overlap that would make me think that maybe that's why you're seeing some of these ominous black boxes that they're doing there. Because again, I'm very hung up on the concept of Bigelow and Fugel. These are two rich dudes. You don't do things when you're a rich person unless you're not spending money unless you're trying to make more money. Like I just don't think they're doing this for the tourism-y aspect of the paranormalness. I think that they've got to be thinking about making money, or maybe it's not similar. You could also see an instance which that's what Bigelow was doing because he's the one that brought in the team and he was trying to do that. And Fugel may be coming in and he just wants to make money off of the legend of Skinwalker Ranch because he's trademarking the name and doing stuff with the History Channel, what have you, whatever. But
let me ask you something.
Sure.
If this is their goal, why go media public at all with it? Like, because if their goal is for the team of scientists to go in and experiment and create this new technology and try to figure out what's going on with whatever strange things are bringing through the black box to see if we can utilize it, why ever go public with this? Why let this story get out? Why not just do it in secret?
Well, George Knapp did that in 1996.
Yeah.
I think that he, well, and I think too, Bigelow was actually interviewed by George Knapp too. That was another thing that I think that I saw too, that he was interviewed, I think while he was the owner of Skinwalker Ranch. And I think they go public, one, I think to get ahead of the story. I think that's something that, I think with the new age of communication, that the powers that be, air quote, whoever you want to say, have had to shift gears. The gears have shifted away from everything being covered up from, say, like the 80s before that. Bob Lazar is sort of this new mark in history, where now people are coming forward, mass communication's out there. You can't hide this stuff anymore. You got to come forward. You got to be ahead of the story.
Okay, so
you got to control the narrative.
So it'd be like this: they went ahead and allowed the story to get out about Skinwalker Ranch. So when people go, "There's some strange things going on up there at Skinwalker Ranch," everyone will just go, "Yeah, of course, it's Skinwalker Ranch."
Yeah, like if you look, you compare this to another major event that's going on right now, the Ukraine-Russia conflict. The Ukraine-Russia conflict that we have going on now.
Were you trying to tell me wrap it up? Oh, okay, because you said you give a tap or something, and then you started.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Compare that, say, like, with a conflict that you have now, like with the Ukraine-Russia conflict. It's a very sad conflict. But what you have right now are two competing propaganda machines right now. Like, you see, like, the Ukrainians talking about, like, the ghost of Kiev that's come out. We posted that on our social media, where there's, like, this like, fighter pilot that, like, shot down, like, 6 Russian fighter planes. Turns out that that's not true, that the footage of it is from like a video game or a simulation or something, disproportionate amounts of like casualties that are coming out on both sides. It's just like this war of information on both sides trying to control the narrative. I think that's what you see here with a lot of the stuff that comes out of Skinwalker Ranch. They have to go public because they have to control the narrative. And that's what they're trying to do.
Sounds like a smart plan. I believe it.
Right. So I think we're getting away a little bit more from the way they're covering it up is just shoosh to... They're just going to put so much information out there. It's very hard to know what's the real information. So,
but with this process here, you're walking me through here.
Sure.
I have to ask a question. So, if they're there trying to study the things coming through for whatever reason, this area is important. What do you think the things are they're studying? Are you thinking grays? Are you thinking skinwalkers? Are you thinking extraterrestrials?
I think that depends on, I don't know.
I already made my thoughts clear on this one in the last episode.
I think it's in some sort of way that they're trying to control supernatural entities. They're trying to, in some way, manipulate that. However you want to say that it's going to be. You know, if they come through some other sort of dimension, if they come, open portals, if they manipulate physics in some way. I think what they would be doing is they're trying to recreate that technology to essentially make us be able to handle those situations better in some sort of, whatever that situation is. It could be to fight a particular entity, to control a particular entity, to kill a particular entity, to go somewhere, to keep something from coming through, all the above. And I think that if that's what it is, that could be explaining all this sort of bizarre paranormal phenomenon, because that definitely probably is going to be attracting paranormal phenomenon. You're going to be causing paranormal phenomenon, everything all above.
So, what are your thoughts on Mel's Hole?
Mel's Hole? You go first.
Okay.
You go first.
My thoughts on Mel's Hole, that I know the general community thought is that most people seem to believe that it was a hoax. Possibly, yes. But also there's some interesting consistencies with other things that make me think maybe not. And there are some consistencies between Mel's Hole and Skinwalker Ranch I kind of wanted to talk about. In these sort of anomalous areas, and Mel's Hole and Skinwalker Ranch are far from being like the only ones, but one of the similarities I've been noticing coming out are these strange animals that are just off enough from the animals that should be in the area that they are noticeable. For example, the giant wolf at Skinwalker Ranch. So these places will have abnormally large cats. And at Mel's Hole, there were the abnormally colorful birds with the long plumage. The other similarity that they all almost seem to have is this immunity towards, like, bullets. Just like in the Skinwalker Ranch incident, where he fired off several rounds of varying caliber into the large wolf, he couldn't get to let go of the calf. In the Mel's Hole story, there are parts where Mel is trying to shoot down these strange birds so he could take them to a scientist to figure out what they are. And he would hit them, and they would fall to the ground, and then they'd get up and fly away. But no signs of blood, no signs of any permanent damage, just that the force of the bullet had knocked them out of the air, but it didn't actually hurt them. I just thought that was an interesting consistency. And there's other aspects of high strangeness around these locations that make me wonder if there might be something more to Mel's Hole just because of its consistency with other areas.
I think one of the weirdest things about Mel's Hole is that we're not 100% sure where exactly that it is. I mean,
yeah, and there were more than one quote unquote Mel's Hole.
I think we got to find it first before we can but I think that's particularly interesting that you see these particular entities surrounding some of these places, like, you know, Skinwalker Ranch, Mel's Hole, other Area 51, other places like this, and you just run into these entities that just can't be hit by normal bullets, and it makes me wonder whether or not if there's a similarity for there's a similar physics thing that's going on particularly with them, that there's got to be some sort of commonality.
Yeah, no, that's my thoughts too. That assuming that Mel's Hole is believable, let's for the moment just consider that the story is legit, that they're experiencing the same sort of strange phenomena. That whatever's happening in the Uinta Valley is also happening there for one reason or another.
I think the thing that you can get from both Mel's Hole and Skinwalker Ranch is that, you know, God bless these people that come forward to break the news on some of these things. Mel's Hole got popular from a guy named Mills Waters that came on Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
But then nobody could find him. So he's literally like the X-Files version of like the smoking guy, where he's like, you know, I need to tell you about this hole that's out there in Washington that's bottomless, and there's things crawling out of it and things like that.
He would give somewhat regular updates about his experiments, but for the most part, yeah, he is fairly enigmatic.
Yeah, I feel like that means that we should probably have like our own hotline that we should have open. Like when we get to the point where we're having like full on like live shows, and we get to that point, we need to have like a hotline people can just call into and be like, "You're on Talking with Shadows with Vic and Marcus. Go."
You know how terrible of an idea that is, right?
What?
Someone's just going to call
That's
in.
how the story of Mel's Hole got broke.
Yeah, but people nowadays are just going to call it and scream a bunch of profanity so we can't, do the show live.
and
you have to do it on a delay.
No, we'll just do it. We'll just do it like how Arch Bella handled it. And we're gonna be like, in my mother's butt, you say. That it's like, it's like, what? Is there someone that tells you these things? Like, just
Art Bell didn't have to deal with the YouTube algorithm.
I know he didn't have to deal with the algorithm, but I mean, like, but he still handled like people calling in and being, pretty out there pretty well. No.
Yeah, but no, yeah, I would love to do something like that. That would be really, 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 really cool.
1-800 Talk with Shadows.
Yeah,
Talk with Shadows. We'll go back like from like the we'll go back to like the hotlines like from back in the day where it's like the first minute is like get the first minute free, and then it's $99.99 every minute after that. I think we could quit our jobs after
goodness.
that. After that. But I think that it makes it make sense to me. I think that it makes it make sense to me that when I started researching more about these black boxes, and you look at things like Mel's Hole, Skinwalker Ranch, these other types of paranormal hotspots all around the world, that there's money in being able to control that, And I think that
always seems to be what things come down to,
right.
Control.
Right. And one of the things that I think that people don't realize is that the United States government and governments around the world really do rely on private investors for a lot of projects. I mean, it's how we funded World War I and II with war bonds. I mean, we had to convince people to give them money. So, I'm like wrapping my mind around why are some of these big businesses, tycoons, getting involved in this in some sort of way. And I'm like, there would be money in being able to develop the technology and being able to do that, and especially with like a Bigelow who's into, aerospace tech. That to me is a reason why I think that a guy like that would get involved more than just being in love with the paranormal.
And it's possible.
I'm sure he does, but you don't get that. I don't think you get that rich without loving money.
But also, we've discussed how rich eccentrics seem to eventually drift towards the occult.
No, I agree. No. I agree, and I think that there's power in it, and I think there's money to be found there. So that helped me connect the dots. Like these black boxes really, really, really helped me connect the dots there.
I'm still not totally convinced it's not just a person who is really interested in doing a scientific study into the occult, but I'm also not 100% against the idea that there's something more to it that he's trying to prop it.
And I'm sure they are, but people like that are broke. Like me and you would do that. It's great. We don't have the money for it. We have to go to the rich person, and then the rich person's gonna be like, "Well, how do I get my money back?" I'm like, "So you're saying I built these black boxes, and they let me fight off skinwalkers? I could
so my private army of skinwalkers could keep all the poor people off my land."
Like that, to me, I think that makes some more sense.
I mean, sure, it jives, it follows.
I mean, yeah. No, I mean, we laugh,
but I'm not 100% sure. I'm saying I will believe that is a possible path to what happened, but I also think another possible path to what happened was it's just some rich dude who's like, sure, I'll throw some money into the paranormal because I'm personally curious in it. I think both are possible paths.
Millionaire aerospace tycoon just went, I think I'm just going to go buy a random haunted ranch in the middle of Utah for no reason.
Well, he's always had this interest in the paranormal.
I'm sure. And you know why? Because you can make money off of it. Like that's, I don't know.
Like I told you, that's a possible path. I will give you that is a possibility.
Yeah.
But I am not 100% convinced that that's definitely what happened.
Well.
But maybe. Or maybe it's altogether a Illuminati black project. Bigelow, as a member of the Illuminati, knows that there's something going on over in, this property. Right. So he's going to falsify all these things about the Skinwalker Ranch so people aren't looking at the 80-foot tall gorilla monster that's 5 blocks over. Once again, possibility, right. I'm just not convinced that's necessarily what happened.
I think that my explanation makes way more sense than just business than rich.
It's a good explanation.
Haunted property.
I rode with you. It's a good explanation.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'm not ready to say boom confirmed. 100% Bigelow, black boxes, aerospace, private Skinwalker army to keep poor people off his property. I'm just not 100% convinced yet.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on the thing I kind of brought up towards the end of the show? The thing where they're talking to their intelligence agency friend about you didn't get good data because no one wanted you to get good data.
I have one of two thoughts. Either it goes back to my original idea of them just saying, oh, the reason why we couldn't get this was because somebody manipulated it. I'm not saying that's out of the realm of possibilities. But I don't think that analog and I don't think that there is enough to believe that analog and eyewitness evidence is like the core source for it. I think if there's anything that we've learned with the paranormal is that first of all, anything is manipulatable.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, time, space,
memory.
You know, I don't really think that analog information. Because you know how they would have handled analog if they had analog information?
How?
The government would have come and taken it. Like they have old school methods too. It's called black bagging. like they couldn't go back to that.
Now you might be asking, why am I rehashing this? And here's why. I wanted to bring it back up.
Sure.
In the guise of the discussion that you were putting forward about this being more or less a test zone. And my thought that the people that they were testing as guinea pigs were the scientists. Maybe they were seeing, could they keep this hidden even from a scientific eye? Could they hide this from like independent aerospace institutes? Could they hide this information from universities? Could they hide it from foreign scientists? Could we manipulate the data? Could we keep the information controlled and make them think, we don't know what happened?
I think that they could, but I don't think that when you get rich tycoons like Bigelow involved in it, that they would, I feel like they would be having to pay like Bigelow paying for this. I don't think he would pay for that.
Well, probably not directly, but in this theory, it would be probably he had made friends with someone in the aerospace community that was connected to some of the stranger stuff the government's doing. They're like, hey, we need someone to do these tests, but we can't do them directly ourselves. Would you set this up for us?
I think so. I think we've shifted into this new age where we have to be able to hide things from.
You have to have degrees of separation.
You have to be able to hide things even from, say, like any scientist anywhere. Now you're not just dealing with scientists in a particular area. You're gonna be dealing with it anywhere. So I guess they could be. I don't know. I think it's more plausible that they would be using scientists to create something, to do something, rather than it just being, can we hide this from scientists?
It's possible, but I think it's an important test to see if you're going to use this clandestine equipment to see if you can hide it from a scientist.
Yeah, but I think the government could do that without Bigelow.
Because it once again gets there. I'm not saying there aren't loopholes in this problem. This is more of just a thought that it crossed my mind. I wanted to talk out. I
think the government could bring in their own researchers and some of their own spots to do that. I don't think that, that's the theory, with Bob Lazar, maybe he was brought in to work on this propulsion technology to see, what he would do, how would he respond to that. The government can bring in their own people. I don't think they need the rich tycoon for it, but I think that's why I'm more likely to believe mine, because the rich tycoon's trying to find money, and I think that's how you get money.
So, do you think that in this idea of the rich tycoon bringing in his own scientists, then do you think this is technology he plans to keep for himself? Because it sounds like it wouldn't be necessarily part of a greater government agency.
No, it would. No, because you contract it out. Governments contract stuff out.
Oh, yeah, no. But it wouldn't be he creates the technology and then gives it to the government. It would be, hey, I now own this secret patent.
Yeah, he's selling it. He would be selling it back. He would be funding government work and be getting money back in the process by doing that, and probably being involved. In my mind, I think he's a contractor. I think that's what he's doing.
And fascinating theory. I like it. It's good.
Yeah. Like, I think he comes in and I think that he does that.
Have you talked about most of your stuff you had for Skinwalker Ranch?
Yeah.
I feel better leaving it off at this point now than I did at the end of the last show, because I kind of feel like we just didn't get far enough.
Yeah, I did, and I think this definitely helps us to kind of move to think about Skinwalker Ranch in another light, which I don't think people are talking about, and I kind of like that.
And who knows? Maybe this can be a revisitable thing one day if we find even more stuff we want to talk about on it.
Right. I've got one more thought, and I think we got a little bit of time for this. So we're gonna make time.
Okay, we're up against your schedule, not mine.
I got you. Yeah, we're gonna make time. So I was listening about this story that this guy who had camped near camped near Skinwalker Ranch, and he was talking about a story from 1995 when he was in the Boy Scouts, and they were on a camping trip in the valley. And while they're on this camping trip, they had somebody from the Ute Indian Reservation that came to the campsite with him, and he was telling them a story at night. And one of the stories that he was telling them was about a time in which, he starts it like the same way like Les Groups are, I'm not supposed to be saying this. We need to be keeping this here. And the guy uploads it on YouTube and gets 300,000 views, but whatever. Well, moving on that. But then he was talking about the person from the Indian Reservation said that there was a time that when he was younger, his dad, his uncle, and two cousins were in a truck. And they were driving in the valley one time, and they were pursued by, like, a pack of skinwalkers. Like, there was a strange mist that was out there. There were these wolf-like skinwalkers that were chasing them, had yellow glowing eyes. And a weird detail that they had in their story was, like, this glowing red light that was in their necks. And that was emanating from their necks. And they were like just, hauling ass trying to get away. And it was chasing them, and eventually they just disappear. And then after this particular incident, like the guy that was telling the story was saying that he was having nightmares about this woman coming to visit him in the night, having this glowing red thing in her neck. His two cousins, one ended up getting sick, and the other one ended up dying in a car crash shortly thereafter, feeling like they had been cursed. And one of the things that they were talking about was they would say that, if you talk about skinwalkers, if you learn about skinwalkers, that they know that you're talking about them and that they will come and visit you and bad things will happen to you. Like his two cousins mentioned things like disembodied voices, whispering at them from the sky, whispering at them from shrubs. After that particular episode that we did last time was the only episode where after we were done, I pulled out the micro USB card and then lost it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of those weirds. And then you had a weird incident with getting beer exploded all over you.
the curse of the Skinwalker.
It's weird. Like we just started having all these bad things that started happening to us.
I guess I had a really bad incident at the gym shortly after that.
Where you guys that you had to recover from. Now again, we could just be grasping for straws for whatever we're doing.
I don't think that this is actually this curse of the Skinwalker falling upon us. I think this might be something else. But I'll give you maybe. Maybe Skinwalker curse, but maybe not.
But like my thought is like, learning about them and talking about them, like I wonder if like because even there they said all the people that heard the story would have like negative things that would happen to them shortly thereafter with them. Like,
okay, remember that time that before you knew that there was like a curse associated with talking about Mothman, and then you got mad at me for telling you about Mothman and spreading the curse to you? Aren't you just doing that to the viewers right now?
I know.
Or the listeners?
I know. It's sort of like is it a like self-fulfilling prophecy where you think you're going to be cursed, that bad things just start happening to you, or do you think that there's something where like there's this connection where like they can tell whenever people are being able to talk about them?
I mean, there's a certain box I don't talk about.
Right.
Because I'm worried about it being cursed for talking about it.
Right.
But do I take those things very seriously? I don't know. I don't want to talk about that specific box, but I'll talk about Skinwalkers. So sometimes I'll give it a maybe.
Like you see that just so much in the paranormal, like just opening yourself up to that experience, like, and then like and then like, you know, when you look into the paranormal, it looks back at you.
Yeah.
And that sort of mentality is like, is that what's going on?
Now that I 100% believe.
Or are we just looking for, you know, a bad thing to happen to us, and then we're just connecting the dots, and then we're just connecting them from when they don't need to be connected.
Although I 100% believe that if you start thunking around with the paranormal, it'll just start thunking back at you.
So, I want to get food for thought because I want to tell that story because I thought that was really interesting.
It's a really cool story.
Yeah, the glowing neck thing was really interesting because I had never heard that.
Yeah,
before.
I've heard a lot of stories of skinwalkers chasing cars and being able to keep up with cars. I don't think I've heard the glow before.
I just thought that was a particular unique trait. So I just want to give that food for thoughts. But, you know, we've done 2 episodes on Skinwalkers, you know, and with Skinwalker Ranch. Like, do you have any more final thoughts on it?
Oh, ultimately, you gave me a lot to think about, and perhaps those could be parts of it. But for the most part, I don't think my thoughts on what's happening at Skinwalker Ranch is any different. I still think it's something to do with extra-dimensional travel or extra-dimensional spillover, or maybe just the nature of a thin zone between here and another, like, extra-dimensional place.
I think that there's one thing that you can't ever count out. It's human ingenuity. I think our just how fast technology is evolving. Like, if you looked at technology 20 years ago to now, it's mind-boggling. Like, Elon Musk was talking about that, and he said, if you want to look at the best evidence of a simulation, just look at where video games have come from in just 10 years ago to, like, almost hyper-realistic stuff now. And it's only going up exponentially. And I think that there's a lot of that when it comes to technology. And we've talked so much in the paranormal about these particular things with manipulating fields, manipulating dimensions or whatever, that if there's something to it, and it could be scientifically recreated, at a certain point, humanity is going to be able to at least attempt it. And I wonder if Skinwalker Ranch is evidence of that. I'm wondering if these black boxes could be that. Put your guys' thoughts on the black boxes down below. Had you heard about those? Did you know about these before? Was this the first that you guys are hearing about it? Do you think that I'm right? Do you think that that the black boxes were that Bigelow was making these black boxes, technology he's working on them, and that's why I brought in the scientist? Do you agree more with Vic that maybe they were testing on the scientists to see if the scientists could pick up on some of that? Do you think we're both wrong? Do you think that there's something totally else out there?
Or if you have other questions for us to address during our 100th episode, which should be the next one unless we do Skinwalker Ranch episode 99.9.
You want to do
always
another one?
Possible.
Yeah. Put in the comments below. Guys, I'm going to be out for a week on vacation. I will see you guys when I get back. But until next time, guys, keep believing.
Because we'll keep listening.